Hello, welcome to the fifth and final installment of the Parent Resource Group videos from Awakenings Counseling. I'm Emily Gary, and today I don't really have a topic for you. It's just kind of a final thoughts type of day. I've got an activity or two to talk to you about, and just some final thoughts on the things that I've been going over throughout the course of these videos. So the one thing that I've really been trying to promote throughout all of this is building a strong connection with your kid and really having, this relationship with them where they can feel comfortable, they can feel like they can talk to you, and they feel like they trust you. And so today I just want to suggest some more activities that are ways for you and your kid to be talking to each other, ways to get them to learn how to open up about themselves and about their emotions. So, the first idea that I have for you today is something called a worry jar. So, again, I love jars, apparently. And so, this is another time that you can use a jar or you can use whatever else you have on hand. Could be a can, could be a bottle, could be a box, some kind of container. And what you want to do is basically just like the same way that you would create a suggestion box, somewhere, is that you just cut a hole in the top of whatever it is that you're using as a container, and you keep a little pad of paper. It can be little sticky notes or just, like little pieces of paper next to it, and some kind of writing utensil or drawing utensils. And you let your kid just, whenever they pass by the box and they have, or, jar, whatever it is, and they have some idea of something that they're worried about, they just write it down or draw it out on a piece of paper, pop it into the jar, and then at some point, maybe towards the end of the week or, every few days or so, maybe even the end of every day so that you guys are talking really regularly, you open it up and you read the worries and you talk about them with your kid. And so this is a way for you to be in touch with whatever's going on with them, especially with all this coronavirus stuff. I mean, I've been hearing from people about how, their kids are worried about it. Like, this is impacting everybody. And so being able to address what their concerns are and talk them out with them. It might not always be something that you can actually, help solve for them, but it is something that they can feel like they can, get some relief by being able to talk it out with you. So, worry jars, that's suggestion number one. The next thing that I have for you is a really old school board game that I actually really enjoy doing with clients. And it is called The Ungame. And I got this on, I think, eBay or something. Like, it's, one of those ones that you have to kind of search on the internet for. But I know that you can find either this or different games that are similar to this. And the whole idea of this game is that there are no winners. It's really just something to get families hanging out with each other and talking to each other and just getting to know each other better. And so it has a board to it. You do have little pieces that move around, but there's not really a goal in mind, and there's no winners to it, which can be difficult for kids to adjust to. I know that that's something where they're really, goal-oriented. They want to have the winner. They want to know that they're doing well at it. But just reminding them throughout that the goal of it is to just be talking to each other. And you can, if you want to, offer some kind of reward for participating in the activity. Sometimes that's a way to get them to do it. But other times, sometimes people just like to talk and like to talk about themselves and think about, these questions that come up for them that they've maybe never considered before. So, there's a few different types of cards in there, and you can actually, I don't know if you still can order ones, but I'm sure you could find, like, on eBay or wherever else, you could order the expansion packs that they used to have. But there are these lighthearted cards and then the deep understanding cards. And so some examples of lighthearted cards would be, if you had to move and could only take 3 things with you, what would you take? And then the example of a deeper understanding card. Okay, this is to take another card. So let's see. Deeper understanding. What feelings do you have the most trouble expressing? And so really giving them the option or the opportunity to be able to open up about this. And I know sometimes one of the rules of the game is that you can't ask follow-up questions, when people answer questions and things like that. And so sometimes that feels safer for them because they're able to say what they're thinking about without feeling like they're going to be grilled about it or feeling like they're going to have to justify it or anything like that. But it's a great way to just get conversation going and get kids thinking about, what they do feel and get them to know you a little bit better as well. It's another example where you can actually model this kind of emotional expression for them. All right. And so our final activity today is going to be a sensory activity. I do really suggest, especially for young kids, like, toddlers, like kindergarten age, things like that, having a lot of sensory activities for them because it is helping them with their development, whether it's fine motor skills or cognitive skills. And so what we're going to make today is some cloud dough using just ingredients that I have around the house. Again, not wanting to like suggest that people go to the store or anything. So these are going to hopefully be things that you have at home. And if you don't, I'm glad to say that, I've at least noticed that at some stores around here, they're starting to have flour again, which is nice. But again, hopefully you've got this at home so you don't have to go anywhere. So that will be our next activity. I'll see you in a second. All right. I had to do a wardrobe change in case things get messy. Hopefully they won't, but this is definitely one that I recommend having some kind of, protective clothing on. Maybe even, I'm going to try to make it so that it doesn't get your hands messy, but it sort of depends on what you're going to use as your color for your cloud dough. So today I am again just going to be using some mica because that's what I have at home. This is something that I don't necessarily recommend for kids just because, or especially not for little kids, because if you do inhale it, it could be harmful that way. It is non-toxic overall, but it's just something where it's like a very fine powder. And so if you are using this, you want to be really careful for parents to be supervising or be in control when they're using it. And so what we've got, it's really simple. So I've got a Ziploc bag, got the mica, I've got 1/8 of a cup of vegetable oil, but I actually recommend if you're doing this with kids, use 1/4 cup of vegetable oil and then you'll use 2 cups of flour, whereas I'm just using 1 because I'm making a smaller batch. So first thing that you want to do is actually mix your color into the vegetable oil. This just makes it a lot easier for you to have the color spread throughout everything and not have to try to mix it in later, not try to have to mix it in with the flour where it might not go all throughout. And so I'm just stirring it in my little measuring cup here. It's looking nice and colorful. And it is definitely, you can't see my desk, but it's making a mess. So be smarter than me, put something out ahead of time, like newspaper. All right, so I've got that nice and mixed up and oily and colorful. I don't know if you can really see it, but you might just have to trust me. It's pretty. Okay, and then what we're going to do, and the reason I suggest using a Ziploc bag with this rather than stirring it in a bowl is, again, just because it can be really messy, and before the color gets mixed, the color can stain you. So you want to put your flour into the Ziploc bag, trying to be as neat as possible, and yet I'm still making a huge mess. All right, so we've got that in there, and then what we're going to do is make sure it's really open, and we're going to pour the vegetable oil with the color in it. If you have food coloring at home, that's what I suggest using because that can be a lot easier to just kind of drop in different places, and that's what I've used before with this. I don't know how the mic is going to turn out, so food coloring would just be my suggestion for having used it before. And then what you want to do, I don't know if you can see that, some flour just shot out here. You want to really mix it together in the bag. I don't know if I used enough color, to be honest. I maybe should have put some more in there. So again, another reason to use some food coloring so that you've got a little more control over that and could put a little bit more in later. But you keep on mixing it, mixing it, mixing it. And eventually what it's supposed to turn into is just this sort of really neat little dough. Like it's sort of like almost like kinetic sand in a way. Like just a really fun kind of thing that you can play with. And if you make it in a lot of different colors, then kids have, different ones that they can be playing with and building things with. So yeah, this is a little bit of a fail just in terms of not having enough color in it, but that's okay. I'm not really going to end up playing with this for very long. And you might have to mix it with your hands a little bit. So yeah, ultimately it turns into this kind of just, I don't know if you can really see it, but this little dough. Yeah, mine's getting everywhere. But yeah, it's just kind of like a fun little like sandy dough for them to play with. And really fun sensory activity for them. If you've got some kind of like plastic bin that you can put it in so that they are able to really like play with it with like, play with their hands and everything, almost like a sandbox, and have it spread out a little bit, I would suggest doing that. But yeah, that's my sensory activity for you, for just having something that kids can do that's a fun activity for the two of you, really simple to make, safe, non-toxic, and like I said, it's just really messy, so be careful with that. I'm not going to be hosting the like parent resource group discussion group this week. If you do want to like get in touch or anything like that, please do. I'll put my number down here at the bottom so that you can contact me through Awakenings Counseling. But other than that, thank you all so much for having watched these videos. I've really enjoyed making them. And please do get in touch if you have any questions, any comments, or, just want to be able to chat about some of these things that we've discussed throughout. Thanks so much. Bye.